This podcast proudly brought to you by Boss Shot Shells. Old school is back in season. Experience superior shells when you go with Boss Shot Shells. Their premium, non-toxic bismuth shells knock birds down so hard that the old guys might just think they're shooting lead again. Make sure you check out Boss Shot Shells for your next purchase of shotgun shells. Hey guys, I'm Jordan Fromer. I believe in hunting hard, hunting smart, and having a fun time while doing it. And shooting limits, well, that's just the icing on the cake. I revel in the journey just as much as the successes it brings. From ducks to dogs to decoys and guns, we'll be talking tactics, strategies, and what it takes to get the job done. Load up and take aim. This is the Duck Gun Podcast. What's going on, folks? Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Duck Gun Podcast. On this week's episode, we're joined by one of the podcast's newest friends and partners, Emily from ShotCam. And if you guys have watched some of my duck hunting videos from the YouTube channel, then you've seen the awesome footage that you can have and some of the learning and training tools that are capable with using the ShotCam. But before we jump into the podcast, a quick word from our partners and we'll get right into it. Gunner's American-made dog boxes come with a lifetime warranty and the market's only CPS crash test certification. The guys over at Gunner Kennels have conducted major stress tests to show just how strong they really are, like applying 4,000 pounds of force, dropping a 630-pound hammer from 8 feet, and shooting it with a 12-gauge shotgun at 7 paces with no bullet penetration. Engineered for your dog and built for your peace of mind, Gunner doesn't cut any corners. Nothing comes close to the G1. Go to gunnerkennels.com and use code DUCKGUN10 at checkout for 10% off your next purchase. We'd also like to give a big thanks to our partners over at ShotCam. Now, I've been using ShotCam for the last year, and I can tell you right now, it's a great tool for improving your shooting, whether you're doing clays or live birds, or just want to see some cool footage of your shots after the fact. Make sure to check out shotcam.com and use discount code DUCKGUN at checkout for $40 off.
Hi, this is Killian Bailey from Bailey's Game Calls. I'm here to tell you about our duck, goose, and wood duck calls. We use 3D printing technology to revolutionize the industry. This new technology allows us to create calls with the same sound as wood, acrylic, or anything in between that's at a fraction of the price. Make sure to check out baileysgamecalls.com for your next game call.
Next, we'd like to give a big thanks to our partners at White Rock Decoys. Be a nomad and get out further with their system of windsocks and silhouettes. Use discount code DUCKGUNPOD at checkout for 10% off your next order at whiterockdecoys.com.
Speak.
I'm not a robot.
Yes. Is that how you talk to your golden slave all the time?
Yeah? Speak. Do it. Do something.
Pull my kayak.
I need something funny for the video.
That should have been your YouTube channel, The Golden Slave.
You would have got demonetized just to have that name.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and roll into it.
All right.
What's going on, folks? I'm Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles. Got my co-host alongside me, Elliot Graybeard from Freelance Duck Hunting, and our guest for tonight is Aiden, better known as Golden Boy, or more frequently called the Golden Slave. So, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Now, for those of you that do or don't, I guess, watch FDH, Freelance Duck Hunting videos, if you do watch it, you're certainly know who Aiden or Golden Boy is. And if you don't, you should certainly head on over to YouTube, check out Freelance Duck Hunting, and you will see this guy in virtually, I'd say, probably in 50% of the overall episodes, maybe more than that. You're in it a bunch, aren't you?
Yeah, a lot from the past couple seasons.
Yeah, we met. What did we meet in season 2, right? Or was it season 1? I think it was season 2. We met in season 2.
Three seasons ago.
Yeah. Ran into him.
Most people talk about years as in like 2014, you know.
I've lost. Seasons are easier for me. Seasons are easy. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, what's more important?
Yeah, I ran into Aiden at the boat ramp. He had beat me in and was taking our spot, so I begrudgingly asked to hunt with him, and we've been side by side ever since, pretty much.
Pretty much. It's been a awesome duck hunting friendship.
Yeah, because I mean, my best 2 years duck hunting were both with you. I don't know. It's probably not a coincidence. We'll see what happens next year when you're not around as much. If my average plummets.
Probably to 0.
Yeah, but those of you that are YouTubers, Aiden has his own channel called Cherry Creek Outdoors, and it's got some momentum going. So make sure to head over and subscribe to his channel and check him out, and also obviously Duck Gun Chronicles and Freelance Duck Hunting as well. But if you haven't subscribed to Aiden's channel, make sure you do that.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I got a couple fishing videos coming out in the next few days from when I was down in Florida, and I caught a shark, and we caught some mackerel, so should be some excitement in there.
Sweet deal. So the topic for tonight is we're going to be doing our last hunt update of the season. I'm not sure if hunting for turkeys is out of season in Kansas, but it just ended here in Indiana. Elliot.
Sorry.
It's all right. So it just ended here in Indiana. And yeah, so we got some stories to tell. So Aiden, do you want to go ahead and we'll just jump into your first turkey hunt?
Yeah, sure. I'll start off with my first one. Went out on a morning before class and I didn't get up super early because it wasn't duck hunting and I was not there on time. And I got set up across the ditch from these jakes. If I would have been on time, I would have set up right where I knew they were roosting. But I had to set up farther away because I got there late. And so I ended up being on the other side of the ditch from them. And they came right behind me on the other side of the ditch, so about 100 yards away. And then they gobbled at me, and I gobbled at them and was clucking at them. And they went along their way, and I wasn't sure if they were going to come back in later, if they forgot about me, but they ended up crossing the ditch farther down, and all 3 of them came in about 8 yards and just kind of hung out for a little bit in my decoys. And I shot one, and then the other 2 jakes still hung out in my decoys. And actually got them to gobble a couple times a few minutes later after I shot one.
Did you have your second tag with you at that time, or what was your thinking on that?
I had not bought my second tag yet, but even if I had, I wouldn't have shot another Jake. I wanted to wait for a Tom, but it's hard to pass up turkeys at 8 yards when they don't know you're there. So
yeah,
and for those of you, to give you a little better context of the visuals of what this looks like in Kansas, out where Aiden's hunting, it's mostly just crop fields, and then you've got a creek that runs down with timber running through it. And so when Aiden refers to a ditch, he's talking about the creek and the section of woodland that goes in between it, and then they get a lot easier to hunt when you get like that. I just want to give people a little better visual of what it looks like.
The ditch actually like a farm drainage ditch, or is it actual like flowing creek?
it's an actual flowing creek.
Okay.
It's probably averages about a 75 yards across. Not the creek, but the ditch. The creek's probably only 4 or 5 yards across.
Yeah. So why is the ditch so wide?
Because of all the trees and how rolling and steep the bank is. They don't plant that. And
Gotcha.
the owners hunt. If they didn't hunt, I'm sure that there would be nothing left, no trees left on that property, and they'd be farming the whole thing. But the owners like to hunt that, so.
Nice. So I know you got well, not to give any spoilers, but you got a Tom as well this season. How did the
Correct.
meat compare as far as like how much you got out of your Jake to your Tom?
That's an interesting question because I hadn't really thought about it that much or done any experimenting. I didn't do any experimenting on purpose, but I did fry up the Jake, and I did notice it was quite a bit more tender than the Tom turkey was. And I would say the meat was pretty similar. Maybe the Tom probably had a little bit more meat, but the Jake meat was quite a bit more tender than the Tom meat was, in my opinion.
Tastier.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Nice.
And then I fried it up in a skillet once, and then I also put one of the breasts in a pot roast, like a pulled pork seasoning, and that turned out really well. So definitely recommend that.
Good deal. Yeah, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with mine.
Definitely a crock pot is a good way to go.
Yeah, that's the plan with the legs at least. I kept the legs for the first time this year, so I'm actually cooking those up tomorrow. I'm looking
Oh,
forward to
nice.
it. I'm gonna do pulled. I've done pulled duck and goose quite a few times, so just slow cook it and shred them apart. It should be good.
Yeah.
So the last turkey I shot was with Aiden a couple years ago, and I thought that I could just cook it like I cook duck. I haven't shot a ton of. I probably only shot like 4 or 5 turkeys in my life, but I've been cooking duck just like steak, marinating it, put it on the grill, and so I thought, well, surely I can just do turkey like that, and it was terrible. I almost had it. I had to throw some of it out. It was it was just not the way to cook a turkey.
Yeah,
It was brutal. It was like eating rubber.
yeah. I did something similar actually. I did 2 years back. I took my turkey breast and I got it cut thinly, just the same. I actually took it to a butcher and had him cut it in thin strips with all my goose I shot from the season. Just had him cut it up real thin so I could make jerky out of it. And I can't remember how many pounds. It was tons of pounds though. It was like enough that I had goose jerky for like all the way to the next season. But I did the turkey with it, and I thought, we'll make some turkey jerky. And that was a bad plan because I tried it at the same time as the goose, and all the goose dried out and was perfect. And then I got the pieces of the turkey out, and it was just like rubber. And I couldn't eat it. It was just unedible because I smoked it the wrong amount of time, pretty much.
See, I never expected that because it's like, waterfowl is so dark like steak. I just figured, okay, turkey is this white, delicious meat. Surely I can just throw it on the grill. I don't understand why it's so bad that way.
Cooking
Maybe
turkey
it's just
is tough.
user error.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
It's it can be really the meat can be really tough. I know when we cook it in a fry daddy in the past, it turns out pretty tough in the fry daddy. It's been my experience.
That was my plan for the the breast. Maybe I'll have to come up with a different plan.
Yeah.
I know Tim at work from HTR. He has took his to a butcher to get smoked, and then to keep it moist when they reheat it. I can't remember how he said he reheats it. I think he'd set on a skillet, and they put a whole stick of butter with it. And he said it was excellent that way.
What, the butter or the turkey?
I think both, but all right. So I think I'll jump into mine, my hunt now. I got a couple to talk about, but I kind of want to talk about mine first. So it's not going in chronological order of how it happened over the season. So, going out for my turkey, I hadn't been out to hunt that much. I'd been out a lot to film. So I'd been out. Our season in Indiana is, I think it's 18 days, and I was out 10 of them, and pretty much all of those I was filming, but secondarily hunting. So I really hadn't had a lot of opportunities. So going out, and I had Saturday and Sunday, the last weekend to go, and Saturday morning rolled around. My alarm set for 4 a.m, and I just turned it off, went back to sleep.
On purpose, because I know you do that on accident sometimes.
No, I did it purposely. Like, I had snoozed it, and I'm like, why is this thing still, like, I got like angry, like, why is this thing still going off? And like going to like the alarm clock setting and like turn all three of them off and like roll over in bed. And
Did you regret it later
sleep.
that day?
Yeah, I mean, you always have that little bit of regret. You're like season's closing out, I'm losing all my opportunities. I'm like, I still got tomorrow. Sunday morning rolls around, have my alarms all set again, 4:30, 4:25, 4:20, and they go off, and I'm just like, it's not happening. It's just not happening. So I just turn them all off, and then I was really regretting it at that point. I'm like, man, I only got the afternoon left. So then I just, I went for it. So it was Mother's Day. So we did all the Mother's Day events, all that kind of stuff. And once all that was, through, it's like 2:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, all right, I need to go get my turkey. And so I head out to a field. And I told my wife when I left, I'm like, all right, I'll be back home when I have a turkey or at dark. And my plan was just to sit out for the rest of the day. And, I'm like, eventually something's got to walk by. So I go to this field I'd been scouting out. I'd seen them go through it multiple times over multiple years. So I know they use it. And I saw this big pot of turkeys out there the last time I went hunting. And I knew kind of where they go on the route of that field. So went out there, got out there, and did a little drive around scout of the property. And I saw turkeys were already out on the neighboring property. And that's generally how it works. They start on the neighbor's property, walk through this property, and then roost on the neighbor's property further north. So my plan, get in between them and catch them en route. So I go out there, set up, and I'm sitting out there for, a couple hours and nothing. I set up as close as I could to where I saw them on the neighbor's property calling. Didn't get any response, didn't get any visual on them till about 2.5 hours later. And I see them crossing the field across from me. And they're not coming in the route that they always take. And so they're going kind of like all the way across the field and going behind these trees, this woods over there. And so I just watched the whole group go behind those trees, and I'm like, shoot, what am I going to do now? The turkeys I was going to hunt are off this property and already onto the roosting property. And at this point, it's like, 5:30 in the afternoon. So it goes till, shooting light goes till 8:50, so I still had like 3.5 hours of shooting light. So I'm not sure if they're going to circle back around or if they're just in the roosted property for the rest of the day. But I decided to pack up and just go to the next spot because I have other places I can hunt. These turkeys I've already walked through. I can't catch them en route. So get all loaded up, get back to the Jeep, and I'm driving past the field to the next spot. And thank goodness I had to drive that way, because if not, I never would have seen them. I would have been driving somewhere else. So I drive by, and the turkeys are just standing right there in the corner of the field. And I just couldn't believe it, because they're just right there. Right there in the corner, hidden from me behind the woods. And so they didn't see me when I walked out through the tree, or through the field, not through the trees, out to my Jeep. So I turn around and I drive to the other side of the woods and decide I'm gonna, put a little spot and stock on them. So honestly, I wasn't very optimistic. I don't know if you guys have ever tried spot and stocking turkeys at all, but in my experience, it never goes well. But set out through the woods and kind of slowly walk through there. And every time I saw him getting skittish, I could see him through the trees. Every time I saw him getting skittish, I would give him a little call, give him a little, kind of make him think I'm a hen. And then I'd hear like the hens putzing back, so they're just eating it up. I'm sneaking through the woods. Every time I step on a twig, I'd see him like look back towards the woods, but it was super thick in there, so they couldn't see anything. And eventually I get up to about probably 50 yards from the tree line, and so they're still out there at like 60 yards, and I was hoping I could call them and get them to kind of move towards me. So I sit there for a little bit and call, and nothing. They're just sitting out there. The hens are still putzing back, but the tom really is just fanning around, and I could barely see him, just see him through the trees and the brush and all that kind of stuff. So eventually I decided I'm going to have to belly crawl the rest of the way up there. And so I belly crawl probably to, 40 yards from the tree line. And I get up there and I'm still calling every once in a while, just trying to keep them at ease, thinking it's a hen. And finally the tom gobbles once, and his face is all red, so you know he's excited. He just gobbles once, puts his fan down, and all 10 of the turkeys march into the woods together. And so at that point I'm like, all right, it's on. And I didn't have even chance to get up to a tree, because normally you want to get up there, lean against a tree, you can get a better kind of angle, swing your gun, all that kind of stuff. So I just crawl up into the tall grass and lay there, just laying there prone and watching all these turkeys walk in there. So that was honestly, it was super exciting when you get the turkeys kind of working in there like that. Honestly, all season I really hadn't seen them be that responsive to the call at all. So I don't know, that was just awesome having that. But anyways, I can see the tom walking in, and he's walking, and there's this big hedge, kind of, not a hedge, but like a big clump of brush, briars, and all this kind of stuff. And he's walking on the left side of it, and I'm on the right side of it. So all these turkeys walk in there, and I lose sight of the tom. But, I just lay there, and I have 2 jakes walk right up in front of me. And they're right there about 10 yards, just standing there. And I can tell they can see me, because they're, moving their heads around, just kind of like looking and kind of bobbing their heads around. And they see something, they just don't know what it is. And it's just me laying there with my gun, pointed towards them, and my face facing them. But I got a face mask on, so they can't tell what I am, but they know something's there. And eventually I start hearing turkeys to my side going behind me. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to make a decision here. I can't see the tom. So my 2 options were just stand up and hopefully he's right there over the brush in that hedge, or shoot one of these jakes. So I'm like, man, it's the last day. I got a few hours left. I've seen a lot this season. I'm ready to shoot a turkey. So I just put my gun right on one of the heads of the jakes, pull the trigger, and I blasted them, and I didn't regret it at all.
Yeah, that was a good choice on the last day for sure.
Yeah,
I was listening. I just watched your video today. I was really impressed with the calling you did with those turkeys in there so close. It sounded really great, and they responded really well to it.
Yeah, no, I really like the call I got too. So kind of a little shout out to JT calls. I've tried multiple diaphragm calls, but that one just sounds like super raspy.
It's a good sounding call. Yeah,
I think it makes it sound way better than any of the other ones I bought. And like I will say, the other ones I bought are like from like Big R, or kind of like sporting goods generic calls, and that's the first kind of like from a call company I've bought. But you can tell the difference in it.
I was glad to see. I enjoyed seeing your emotional reaction. I'm glad you filmed that after. It was like it was not only because when you're filming so much, part of it is relief, yeah. But then excitement, but then also relief. You're like, oh, last day, I did it. I got it done.
Yeah, honestly, I was a little down in turkey hunting up to that point. I'm just like, man, I'm ready for season to be over. I've got up 10 days out of the last 18 at 4:30 in the morning. Like, I'm just exhausted from this. And so, having that, I'm glad that happened, because it kind of rejuvenated me as far as being happy about turkey season.
Sweet.
And kind of like another point to point out, that was the first turkey hunt that I went on solo that year. And there's just something about being out there, by yourself, getting out there, just kind of out there in nature and all that kind of stuff. And that's something I don't want to get away from. The more and more I do with like filming or just everything, it's just good to be out there every once in a while by yourself and be out there and kind of like be in the moment. Because that's one thing I find just in everyday life having trouble with. I know for you and me, or Elliot, maybe you as well too, Aiden, but with the amount of stuff we do in social media and all that kind of stuff, it's just sometimes it's hard to be present in the moment. And when I was in that zone hunting that turkey, doing the spot and stock, and that lasted, in the video it doesn't seem very long, but it lasted probably 45 minutes to an hour, all the way from on one side of the woods, walking through, laying there calling, and like that whole time I was just in the moment. And that's just even when I'm sitting there and I was hunting turkeys, I was checking social media and stuff, and I'm like, man, it's just great to be in the moment and kind of forget about all that other stuff. And even when I'm doing that, I need to, like, when I hunt, try to put my phone down more, or whatever I'm doing in life, be more in the moment. That's kind of one thing I kind of felt during that hunt, I guess.
Well, and that's one thing people don't understand. When you're filming all your hunts, you definitely sacrifice that, because you have to realize that if you see something really, really cool and you're on a hunt and you're not filming it, you're just, like you said, you're present, you're completely absorbed in whatever you're seeing, whether, it's animals or a sunrise, or you can just sit and be absorbed by it. But when you're filming, the first thing you do is, how am I going to capture this? And so you definitely lose that, which is a big sacrifice to make, honestly.
Yeah. That's why it's almost better to have, instead of doing solo filming, it's a little better to have somebody by you, because you can be absorbed more in the hunt, have somebody else taking the camera and filming that part of it.
Well, that's why I love one of the many reasons I love having Aiden hunting with me so much, is he is every bit as willing to grab the camera. And when we hunt together, I mean, he's more than happy to put the gun down, grab the camera, take it over. And man, that's been such a blessing to me, to have someone that isn't benefiting from what we're doing as much as I am, but completely willing to pick up the camera and do everything anyway,
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that ended my turkey season right there. We only get one tag in Indiana, so let's jump into your second hunt, Aiden.
I'm guessing we lost his audio again.
Aiden?
Hello? Oh,
maybe he's been talking the whole time.
Maybe he's been making comments and saying all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Man, you're going to have to say all that nice stuff about him again.
I know. I'm sure he heard it. And I was like, gosh, you're not even going to say anything. You're just silent on that. I'm not ragging on you.
Oops. I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. All right.
Oops.
So, could you hear us that whole time, Elise?
Oh yeah, I could hear you guys. I didn't know I was off.
Were you making comments and stuff?
I didn't say anything until you were talking about how you're being appreciative of me being there and filming. And I was like, oh, thanks, Elliot. And then Jordan just kept talking, and I was like, oh. They must not be able to
say
hear
anything. We couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
Elliot's known to talk over guests. If you go look at our reviews.
Not true. Not true. Jordan sabotages me with his editing and lays my talk right on top of people's.
Yeah, no, that's the crappy software that we had. So it wasn't supposed to be crappy. We're paying for it. Now we switched, so all those problems are fixed.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Let's get this thing back on the rails.
Yeah.
All right, Aiden.
You want me to talk
hunt.
about my second hunt, or my hunt with my dad, because that was technically the second turkey I was part of shooting, or just
Yeah,
mine?
let's go with that.
Okay. Well, it was really nice. I came back home from school, and my dad and I got up early, and we had hunted this spot in the past, and this is actually pretty close to where Elliot and I hunted, and he shot his turkey a couple years ago. And this is a much more wooded area, less of a big open field with smaller ditches. This is pretty much a forested area that we were hunting, and there was at least 8 toms we could hear gobbling that morning, so we were pretty optimistic. We didn't even set out decoys since we were in the woods. We just called. Well, actually, I did set out one decoy, but actually I couldn't even see it. I don't think anything would have seen it. So that was kind of a pointless decoy, but so we called maybe every 5 or 10 minutes for the first hour, and we had tracked 2 or 3 different gobblers just based off of their gobbling, which was pretty frequent. Every minute or couple minutes they'd sound off and gobble, and none of them were coming our way, so we ended up switching spots in the woods and started chasing a gobbler that had already kind of passed our location. And we got this gobbler he was going south, and we got him to come back north. And I was filming that hunt, but the trees were dense and the grass was thick, and the turkey was probably 25 yards, and it definitely suspected something. Its head was bobbing up, and it turned around. So Dad went ahead and shot it, and Dad shot it, and there's a pond right there, and it ended up going in the pond, and we had to grab a long stick to get it out of the pond, because as its final breaths, it was like kicking itself farther and farther from shore.
So would it just run down there and hop in, or is it just like all twitching and nervous?
It was just twitching and flapping its wings is how it got it down there. So there was really not much life left in it, if any life, but it was just the after effect of the shot and just like it spazzing out. It was like 10 feet in the water. So that was fun.
Nice.
I'd never had a turkey end up in the water after being shot. And
You
it was
need a
really
turkey
cool.
dog.
Yeah. Almost.
Get him out there and retrieving.
Yeah. And so
Well,
the
25
next
yards is not really that long of a shot at all.
No, it's not. It was pretty close.
Were you guys trying to get him closer then, or is it just
Yeah.
the brush you're worrying about?
Yeah, we were hoping it would come closer, because there was actually a path we were sitting along, and the hope was it would continue along that path, and then it would have been between 5 and 10 yards away, and I would have been able to get it on video. That was the goal.
Oh, gotcha. So you couldn't see it with the camera.
Could not see it with the camera. I could only see the top of his head, and so could Dad. Was a little bit to my right. He could see it a little better than I could, and so it was definitely. He said it had turned around, and they make the putting sound, like a putt.
Yeah.
When there's an alarm, and it was doing that. So it was definitely a good time to shoot, because I don't think it was coming back. So,
Nice.
yeah.
So is that the only turkey your dad shot this year?
Yeah, that's actually Dad's only hunt this year, so he's 1 for 1 on the turkey season.
Nice.
How big was that
That's
bird?
The beard was 10.5 inches, and the spurs were an inch and an eighth or a quarter. We always forget to weigh our birds. Dad never weighed our birds growing up, and then I'd never actually heard of anybody weighing their birds until Elliot had mentioned it to me. And so I meant to, and then it was already cleaned, and I was like, oh, I should have weighed that bird.
That's my number one concern. I know most people it's beard length and spur, but I just want the poundage. I'm always shooting for that 20 pounds. I
Yeah.
want the 20 pounder.
Did you know that Elliot actually weighs all of his ducks as well?
3 pounds, 3 pounds, 3 pounds.
That's actually the newest stat. He just added it to FDH stats.
Average pound,
Season
3.1.
tally. Most people kind of look at either the shooting percentage or number of ducks per hunt. Elliot looks at like the average pounds per hunt.
Yeah, pretty soon he's going to be like weighing his sled every hunt to see how much weight he's carrying in and out.
How much weight I'm going to make
He has
you
to-
carry in and out, you mean?
He's got to make
pretty
sure
much.
that your sled is twice the weight of his.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
pushing a little bit. I'd say 3 to 1.
All right. So next hunt I got to talk about. So I can't remember how far I talked about the hunts last week with HTR, but I know we've dove into them on the last podcast. So I'm just gonna pick up somewhere. But we'd been hunting in this same field. It just has like a ton of toms. We scattered it out before season, and this woods has 8 to 10 toms. But for whatever reason, they're just being perfect at avoiding. It's like it's just terrible luck. So. I mean, we're literally setting up in the A-frame. That's one of our goals, is just to hunt from the A-frame. And we're literally having birds off the roost fly directly overhead of us in the A-frame. But they all end up being like hens, or the toms go a different way. Well, anyways, on this day, same thing. We hadn't moved the A-frame at all. And it was 2 or 3 days later from the last time we hunted out of it. And last time we were out there, we had a bunch of hens off the roost fly right in front of us, literally like 8 yards. And so today, that day, we get out there and we can see up in the tree, we can see birds roosted about, I'm going to say about 70 yards away. And as it gets lighter and lighter, we can tell that one of the birds we see is a tom, and he's just sitting right there. He's facing towards us, and all ready to go. So we do have some hens come out in front of us first, but he's even gobbling right there. We can see him. So we're just all sitting in the A-frame, kind of waiting, hoping he pitches out right in front of us. And sure enough, he pitches right out of the tree and right to the left of us. And he's probably, I don't even know, 20 yards, if that. And he just lands right there. And so right when he does that, we kind of all get ready. I'm trying to turn the camera to get a good angle on him. Hunter grabs his gun and getting ready to pop up out of there and shoot him in the head. And we didn't know this, but another tom out of the roost came and landed right next to him. And so the other goal we were trying to shoot a double, but we didn't know. We had no idea that the second one landed because we're so focused on the first one. And even Hunter stood up and went to shoot the turkey, and he didn't even realize there was another one there, but there's one standing right next to him. But, you know, we can't be that picky. Hunter stood up, popped him, and we got our turkey. Or he got his turkey. Pretty cool.
That had to be really fun and intense when those turkeys were coming down all around you, and that Tom's sitting there in the trees, and you're peeking around. I just watched that video yesterday. You're peeking around and trying to zoom in on him in the trees. That had to be fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see him fly out of the roost. I don't think I've ever hunted that close where you can see them and have them land in shooting range.
How did you get the A-frame set up in the dark and not scare those birds out of roost?
That's what I was wondering.
Well, it was already set up, so we carried it the rest of the way.
Okay.
So we set it up out of range because, I mean, it's aluminum on aluminum hitting. You're going to scare them. But if you just carry it, there's no noise.
3 guys and that stuff still. You guys, it's amazing that you didn't, as close as those birds were, you didn't scare them out of roost. I would have scared them out of roost, don't you think, Aiden?
That's a pretty good chance.
Aiden and I were hunting one time out turkey hunting, and he says, "Shh, be quiet. You're walking like a duck hunter."
Duck hunters walk loud in the woods.
See, my theory on it is that turkeys are just used to, as long as you're going in there at dark, they're used to things walking under them at night, whether it's coyotes or deer. They just hear stuff walking under them. So you can walk right under a turkey, walk quiet, don't talk, all that kind of stuff, and you're not going to scare them out of roost unless you're super loud or they can see you.
Yeah.
So you were there pretty early then?
I mean, yeah, we get there pitch black.
Okay, yeah. I have trouble doing that during turkey season.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that for sure. It's no duck hunting, but I mean, it's still a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen the video. Do you still camo the A-frame for turkeys, or do you just leave the canvas?
No, yeah, just canvas. They're not near as picky.
Yeah.
And
not as picky as ducks.
And they've got, with these blinds, they've got special like rows of holes to look out through, so you don't have to necessarily look over the top of them, which is pretty cool.
Okay, yeah. That's neat.
So you can stay in it. So last year they hunted out of the A-frame, and they just had to like peek out of the side and try to peek over the top. But you're gonna bust birds that way pretty easy. Mm-hmm. So it's just rectangles cut out of it, 2 on each side of the center, pretty much. That way you can peek through it, and you're not gonna bust turkeys. And then when you're ready, you just stand up and pop them. And you got 2 to 3 seconds before they bust. We haven't had any so far where they just immediately run. You have time to aim on them and shoot them in the head.
They're kind of like, oh crap.
No, they just don't know. They're like I was here, I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden this thing pops up like a giant whack-a-mole or something. And you just stand up and pop them. So and then kind of add on that. So to end our bad luck, like we'd hunted a lot the first 15 days. The last 3 days, so Hunter shot his 3 days left. I shot mine the last day, and we split up. And Tim went on his own as well the last day, and he went back to that A-frame and shot one as well. So we all three got our turkeys right there at the end.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we could have doubled that last day. He could have doubled that time by himself. And this whole season, we've been trying to double up, just for kicks. And then finally, it's happened at the last season, and it happens on the hunt when we're not with him. So I'm like, really?
Of course.
Of all the time to do it. So
At least you guys bailed it out, though, and you got 2 good videos out of it.
yeah, good stuff. All right, let's jump into your last one, Aiden.
It's when Aiden shot my turkey.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Is this the one where? Yeah, you can start it off by telling how disappointed you were with Elliot. Looks like we lost a golden boy again.
I wonder what the deal is with that.
I don't know.
All right, we can't hear you. Reset it again. You're going to have some good editing to do on this one.
Or we could just tell jokes in between. That way I don't have to mess with it.
No? Go ahead. What you got?
I'm usually you're the one telling the jokes.
I don't have anything. Nothing.
Okay. Here's Aiden. He's back.
All right.
He saved us.
All
All
right.
Yeah, I
right.
don't know why it keeps kicking me off, but
Hopefully you didn't say anything important.
no, not yet anyway.
All right,
Did,
let's jump into your last one.
Did you cancel on me, Elliot, the morning of or the evening before? I can't
It
remember.
was the evening for because old wifey and I don't know if I'd consider it a fight, but it was certainly in that area, in that realm of long conversation over multiple topics that has been building and needs to happen, where it could turn into a fight at any time. And we were, it was a Sunday, and I had big stuff coming up for work on Monday, and I knew if I didn't get to sleep till like 1:30 because Beth and I were up having this deal, and then I was gonna like 4 hours sleep, and it was Easter, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's
It
what
was
it is.
Easter.
I was gonna just be completely worn out for Easter, and I was like, well, I really need to be present for Easter, so I canceled like at 1:30 at night. Because Aiden's dad was like, look, if you go, I wasn't going to go out. And then I saw Aiden's dad, and he's like, I'd say you got about a 75% chance of shooting a turkey tomorrow. So now I was like, okay, at this point, do I even care about even trying to kill a turkey or not? I mean, they're handing me this bird, basically. If I don't go, then I'm just like, oh my gosh, don't have no self-respect at all. So I agreed to go, and then this big deep conversation broke out, and I had to cancel. And then Aiden goes anyway and steals my turkey.
Finders keepers, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad and I were talking later that evening, and he was like, what kind of hunter just passes up in an opportunity to, like, a 75% chance to kill something?
Yeah.
And I was like, only a hunter that is 100% committed to duck hunting
Yeah,
and nothing else.
that's true. As I don't care. If it had been the same scenario, there is no way I would have canceled a waterfowl hunt in that scenario.
Yeah.
There's no way. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
75% to kill one duck, or is this like 75% to kill a limit?
I just
A
mean
limit.
a duck hunt of any type or any kind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there would be a scenario in which if it was like days in a row that I had gone out, but generally speaking, I don't cancel. I mean, I went out duck hunting one this year with the flu, ended up laying under a tree.
Yeah.
That was a bad decision.
Yeah, you'll always still go. Sometimes you regret it.
I did have to cancel the one where that huge Arctic blast was coming in, because I went out and that was the tester was when I laid out under the tree with the flu, because the next day was our big hunt, because that front came in, you went out and got skunked. I had to cancel that one. I was dying.
Yeah.
That's
that
what
was
it
definitely
takes.
A good decision.
That's what it takes.
Death.
Imminent
You
death.
wouldn't have got skunked. You wouldn't have got skunked if Elliot came with you. He would have been calling him in with that crow call.
That's right.
Gosh, you are a jerk.
Your secret weapon.
Oh man, you're a jerk.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I have many ways of getting you back.
All right. So go ahead. Let's jump into your last hunt, Aiden.
All right. So the next day, following after the day after Dad shoots his turkey, I'm back within probably 100 yards of the same spot where Dad shot his, and I get there pretty late again. The sun's on its way up. No, still early, probably 5:50, and sun up is probably a little after 6. And I hear a turkey gobbling much closer than they were the previous morning. And I was like, oh man, I might not even be able to set decoys out. This turkey is close. I had walked down to that pond where Dad's turkey had fallen into, and I'm sitting on a path next to that pond. And this turkey is got to be. It seemed like he was on the other side of the pond, but I never saw him fly down. So I did set my decoys out. I got a Jake decoy and 2 hen decoys, and I had my bow and my shotgun with me that morning. And I'm striking up gobbling like fury out of this Tom. He's just gobbling at every cluck that I make with my call, and so I was feeling pretty confident.
What kind of call are you using?
This is a old box call at this point. I don't remember the brand.
Is that the only kind you use? Box calls?
I also use diaphragm calls. I don't use any slates, but I would like to get one for next season just because they're interesting. But mostly box calls and diaphragm calls.
Gotcha.
And then I also gobble with my mouth. That's like primitive.
I do too, but usually it's just a joke.
Not Aiden. Aiden will make any kind of animal call that he thinks he can hear out anytime that you're out in the country.
Oh yeah, try me. I'll make that sound.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it right now.
Oh, the gobble?
Yep. I'm not sure if your microphone does it justice. Or not.
Probably not.
All right, now let's hear a coyote.
Do you use any of those like locator calls, like owl or?
Normally I just coyote call with my mouth.
For locator.
Yeah, to
And
locate
they
him.
gobble pretty good to that.
Yeah, I think Elliot bet me what? Did you bet me like $100 that one
It
time?
wasn't
but
$100,
then you took it off?
but there was some type of bet where I didn't think it would work, and we went out to the like corner of these intersecting dirt roads. He's like, "Yeah, I think I can locate this turkey." It was like an easy half mile away, and I'm like, "No way, no, you can't." I've got it on video, and we bet something, and sure enough, he did one. What call did you do on that?
I think I just did a long coyote.
On count how, and just like clear down in the timber, you hear a gobble off right before sunset. Like, oh no way!
So with the locator calls, this is actually something I've been interested in. First time I really heard of it was watching Hunting Public turkey videos, and they always do. I think they do that owl a lot. But yeah, can you just do like it doesn't spook them at all? Do a locator call. You can do it like in the night or in the morning or what?
Generally, I always do it in the evening, like the night before. If I haven't done any scouting, I'll go out the evening before and I'll do a couple howls. Well, I'll do one long howl and see if I can get a turkey to gobble. And if that doesn't work, then maybe I'll do 2 howls or something. But I generally do it in the evening because coyotes are pretty active in the evening. But a lot of times they're active a little bit after the sun's down, and generally the turkeys aren't gobbling when it's dark. So if you do it like, as the sun is going down, generally coyotes aren't howling yet, but it sounds more natural, I think, because the turkeys hear the coyotes every night. And
so
then
they
during
gobble the coyotes.
yeah, the turkeys hear
It
the
just
coyotes.
seems like
are in
weird that they do that, but
Yeah,
It was
no,
really important for us on that trip because we hadn't done any scouting, and we wanted to hunt this spot in the morning. Now, we didn't shoot one, but him doing that, we located right where the turkey was and pinpointed it for the morning. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. But then
can
during
you
the
do it in
day,
the morning?
yeah, I guess I just haven't been in a situation where I need to do it in the morning or midday, really. So I haven't experimented with like an owl call or doing much coyote calling in the morning. But I think it would still work, especially early in the season.
Okay. All right, I'll let you continue on with your story now. Enough questions.
Okay. And so let's see, where was that? So yeah, I had my decoys set out, and it's getting pretty light, and this turkey is still in the roost, gobbling to my clucks. And I never saw or heard this turkey come out of the roost, but he was farther in the forest. So he must have kind of just hopped and glided down really close to his tree, because he was probably close enough to where he probably could have just flown straight in. He sounded like he was between 75 and 100 yards away. And so this turkey's coming down this path towards me, and my hope is that he comes strutting into my decoys and I can get a bow kill, because I've never killed a turkey with my bow, and I've always wanted to. But he comes in down this path, and I can tell he's like looking at me, and he stops at about 20-25 yards, and he was fanned out and strutting, but he brings his feathers back in and lifts his head up, and I'm like, oh man, is he gonna start running? And so I just picked up my shotgun instead of, I had my bow right next to my side, and then I had my shotgun on the other side of me, and so I just took my hands off my bow and then grabbed my shotgun and shot him before he could decide to get away. So I was disappointed I couldn't get him with my bow, but that was the quickest I've ever called in and killed a turkey. I was done at 6:23 in the morning. So I don't even think the sun was technically up yet. It was really bright.
Nice.
But yeah, so it was a really quick hunt, and it was nice to get it knocked out and still, be at Easter service in time. So
Good deal. Yeah, I tried all last season to get one with my bow as well. I was trying all kinds of crazy things, spot and stock with a fan and all that kind of stuff. So it's really tough to get one from, I think, sitting down even on a tree like that. And I tried that as well. But they always were skirting me, or just, I never had it happen last season. So I know what you're trying with the bow. It is difficult, but
it's tough.
I've shot one out of a tent that way, and it's a lot of fun. I think it's probably my preferred method, shooting them with a bow.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
this
think
season,
if you had a ghillie suit, at least for me, hunting in the woods next to a tree, I think that would camouflage my form better, because I'm just wearing some camo jeans and a camo shirt, and my form is pretty obvious. So I think if I wore a ghillie suit, I think that would work better, at least for my area, to disguise my form.
I've got
I think
Danny's
they see my
ghillie suit.
form.
You need to come get it. He's never going to use it
Yeah.
again. It's got a decocklebur it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the other thing you could probably do is, sorry, excuse me. The other thing you could do is probably attach a fan to your bow. I've seen people do that as well, and give you a little bit to hide behind. And I know there's some companies that make attachments for it that are probably better than the thing I Jimmy rigged at home.
Did you put like a real turkey fan on your bow?
Yeah, I used the fan I shot from my turkey the year before.
Nice. Yeah, I've tried that.
Honestly, it turned out
with
pretty
my
well.
shotgun, and they look good, but I think they're too small to hide behind or they're
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, I agree. That was probably part of my problem. Last year I was able to, I mean, I probably got 50, 60 yards away from a tom, and this tom had like 8 or 9 hens with him. And the hens were like all around me at like 10 yards. I'm like standing there, and out of the corner of my eye I can see one less than 10 yards just standing there. They're just all around. So, I mean, it worked, except for that tom was just, he was, I don't know, he just knew something was up. All I can say is he was probably smarter than the hens.
Yeah. Have you tried the Mojo decoy? I keep seeing advertised for it on Instagram.
The scoot and shoot.
Yeah.
They must dump a ton of money into Instagram promotions, because I've seen that a million times, and I don't know if it's because their analytics show that I watch it all the way through every time or what, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that's it.
I've seen it a lot.
It's pretty interesting.
It is
like
cool.
to get one.
Yeah, scoot and shoot. I think they have there's a company that makes them for bows, and it's called the Reaper, the Turkey Reaper. So yeah, I think you need to use like the wings or something as well, but then at that point it's like too heavy for your bow. So I don't know. Yeah, definitely a cool idea. Maybe I'll revisit it at a different year. The only problem is with Indiana, you have one turkey, and I don't know. I guess that's not really a problem. Just go for it the whole season. But last season, I did that and wasted my whole season. I mean, I shouldn't say I wasted it. I didn't get a turkey, and I had multiple chances where a turkey was within shooting range, but not within my bow shooting range.
I think we lost him again.
All right. Well, he's going to hop back in here. And last thing, I had a pigeon hunt, which you wouldn't think a pigeon hunt would be very eventful, but this one was pretty eventful. So took Chief out. So one thing, first off, if you guys aren't following us on Instagram, I'm Duck Hunt Chronicles on Instagram. Elliot is freelance duck hunting. Aiden is Cherry Creek. But one thing I've been trying to do is show all the dog training I'm going through this year with Chief, and showing some more stories and all that kind of stuff. And I need you guys to keep me accountable through this. Somebody send me a message if you haven't seen dog training in a while, because every season I say, or every off season, I'm like, I'm doing all this dog work and gonna make Chief into this awesome duck dog. And I mean, I am doing a lot, but I need to get kind of on a regiment and all that kind of stuff, because it's just not what I'm doing right now. Isn't really transforming him into this elite duck dog like I'm wanting. So anyways, taking him out to do some pigeon hunt stuff out at this farm, and right off the bat, knock one down, and Chief goes out and gets it and brings it almost all the way back, and then he drops it about 3 feet from me, which already starting off, and he's annoying me a little bit because he's not bringing the bird all the way back. And I'm like, so that's one thing. I gotta get him force fetched. I just need to, whether it's me or taking him somewhere, because that's just annoying the crap out of me. And then next, so he's already being difficult, and he knows it too. He's looking at me. He's like, I know you want me to bring this to you, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it there at 3 feet. And then he like picks it up again and drops it. Like, he doesn't want to bring it to me. He's like, I want to keep this, pretty much is what he's saying. So we kind of move spots on the farm. We're trying to get a better angle on where I think the birds are coming from. And there's just so many sites and smills and everything like this. And Chief's like running around, and I'm like calling him, and I can't get his attention. Like, I don't know if he can't hear me, if he's just completely zoned me out, or what. But he's like running in circles over here in the corner of this barnyard. And I'm like, Chief, come over here. Chief, come over here. And he's just like nothing, like not even pausing, not even turning towards me at all. So that, really, really getting under my skin. Which, whenever that happens, that's time to stop your training, because either you're gonna, get too frustrated with your dog where he's not gonna enjoy it, or you're not going to. And so, anyways, I go over there and I grab him and try to like pull him over towards me by his collar. And when I do that, my boot gets stuck in the mud, and it just pulls right off, and I step like into this like it's like cow poop, water, algae, I don't even know, and like just sink in. And now I'm like trying to balance on one boot, and I like step in it again, and I'm just like so frustrated.
You didn't
So,
fall down though?
I didn't, but it was close.
Dang it.
And so I just have to, I mean, what are you going to do? I'm like, should I take my sock off, or like just have to put it back in my boot?
See, that's probably when I would have lost my temper on my dog right then and there.
That was like where I was seeing red for sure.
Yeah.
And but I pulled it together. I pulled it together right there, and I just said, Chief, come. Let's go, Chief. And oh man, but you want to, lose your temper, but as soon as you do, you just make things worse.
Yeah.
And so I just pulled it together right there. And then we shot another bird. So we're walking back to my bucket at this point, because I had a bucket there to sit on. And while we're on the way back, right after he was, being difficult, I shoot a bird. So it's like, oh, great. Well, I shot one. Now he's rewarded. He gets to go retrieve it. And then he retrieves it and brings it back. And then we're walking back, and I'm holding it up. And I look at it, and he, no joke, he's never done this ever. He leaps into the air and grabs it out of my hand. I'm like, this night is so I don't know what it was. If it's like, I mean, because I've been going out like 3 times a day. I come back at lunch to work with Chief, and it feels like we're regressing instead of improving. I'm like, what is going on? So I don't know if it's like the first time, we're seeing birds. It's been since February, and he's just too overstimulated and excited. But we ended up shooting 4, and he retrieved the last one and brought it and dropped it in my feet again. So definitely need to get him a force fetch, and definitely need to keep him from breaking. These are things I kind of, goals I have now after that last hunt. Keep him from breaking, because he literally broke so hard that he ran all the way past the pigeon, and it like landed like 20 yards behind him. And so I'm like, okay. Yeah, he just bolted. I mean, he was super excited. As soon as we started shooting the birds, he knew what was up. He's sitting there all intense looking for him, and he'd see like a barn swallow or whatever they're called, and zipping past, and he's all intense. But yeah, so I'm going to be working on that all summer. Hopefully shooting some more pigeons to kind of test it, because the backyard, it seems a lot better than at the barnyard for sure.
Well, and you need a shooter. Maybe bring your dad or Hunter or something to have a shooter, and then you just only work with Chief, because he won't, if you're there, you can stop him from breaking a lot easier and really focus on it if you're not shooting.
Yeah, and then the last issue I'm running into with the dog training is I don't know, like, how intensely have you trained your dogs, Elliot? Like, are you running a lot of 2 or 3 time sessions a week or anything, or a day?
In Izzy's younger years, I was doing every day, especially from 0 to 1. Before her first hunt, we did a bunch, and I mean, I was working on stuff quite a bit. I don't remember the frequency, but certainly from 0 to her first hunt, we did a lot.
So one issue I'm having is, it's almost like he gets bored with some of the drills we run, because I'm trying some of the force to pile and working on blinds, being able to send them. Mm-hmm. And it's just like he's disinterested in it. He's like, if you throw it from your hip and I see it go, he's like, bam, I'm out there and I'm bringing it back, and I'll sit at hill, and then you throw it somewhere else, I'll go get it. But I'm like, you're putting 5 or 6 in a pile and send them there and back, there and back. He's just like, he's just not into it. So
then you're going too long.
I mean, we're talking the first one.
Oh,
he's like, I don't. He's like, I don't want to go to the pile. I want you to throw it from your hip. And I don't know if that's because that's 95% of his training in the first 3 years. And so I'm sure he's got a lot of bad habits. And I mean, honestly, it's a little embarrassing to say it, but that's just the truth. And trying to work through them.
Yeah, if just from being around him, and I'm obviously not an expert trainer at all, but I think he's more of a low drive dog like Izzy. And if you have a high drive dog, anytime you throw anything, they're going to go nuts. And I think that, and some dogs too, of course, I've seen him on some stuff. He seemed a little bit low drive out hunting as well. He just may not quite have the drive that some other dogs have,
Yeah, well, I think the only problem with that was because he's got enough drive to go out there and get the birds. Mm-hmm. But when you start working bumpers or multiple bumpers, he's just not Yeah, it's just hard to get them to go in a blind where I can get them excited for throwing one from the hip.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's something I got to
dogs are
find
a
the answer
mystery.
to.
You need to make sure and write all these questions down, so when we have someone on, I would like to have Chris on from Flatlander before I get my dog, and we can hit him with a bunch of questions like this, and because every dog is different. I hear these trainers saying, every dog's different, and when you've trained as few dogs as you and I have, being able to be like, okay, this dog is different in this way, and here's how you handle it. We just don't have the background information to solve some of these problems because we just haven't worked with, like Barton Ramsey or Chris at Flatlander or Bob. They've worked with so many dogs that, well, this dog is doing this and here's why, where we just don't have that information. So where it's just like, wow, what do? We don't know,
Yep.
We can do the basics, but when it comes to unlocking a mystery in a dog, our chances are going to be pretty small.
Yeah. So.
How often do you give him a reward when you're training him?
Well, not too often.
Yeah, maybe try that.
Yeah, I've always heard that you're not supposed. Like, I've tried it and it does help. Like, to give him some kind of like, hey, you're gonna get some like meat or something as a reward afterwards. But then he's like kind of thinking about that. He's always ready to bolt towards the garage. So I try to shy away from that. But maybe I should just put it in there, because if I do that, he'll be excited, but it's like excited for the wrong reason, I feel like.
Well, I wouldn't give it to him after the whole session's over. I would give it to him after each individual thing, just a little piece of something after each individual thing. Now, some trainers don't like that idea, but I think Barton was talking about they do that kind of stuff pretty heavily as far as giving dogs little treats in training. But not after the whole session.
He's not a little dog.
Well, yeah. You know what I mean. But he does one retrieve, he gets a little piece of kibble or something. It doesn't take much. Maybe that would help. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I'll try it. What do I got to lose?
Or post some of these questions
All right, well, I
in
think
some of the forums.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good idea. All right, well, I think that'll probably wrap up our hunt update. Thanks again, Aiden, for jumping on here with us.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
I'm not sure if maybe it wasn't an option, being a golden slave and all, but
Yeah, I got forced to drive to come here.
Yeah, Jordan was like,
All right.
I'm going to ask Aiden. I was like, no, you're not. You're going to tell him. Just teasing.
all right. Go ahead, Elliot, and or not Elliot. Why can't I get your guys' names straight? Go ahead, Aiden, and go ahead and plug yourself. Let people know where they can find you.
I'm on Cherry Creek Outdoors on Instagram and Cherry Creek Outdoors on YouTube. So check me out. Thank you.
Awesome. And you guys can find Elliot and I at Duck Gun Chronicles. For me, Elliot at Freelance Duck Hunting. That's all we got for this week. I'm Jordan. For Elliot and Aiden, we'll see you guys next time.